The Gospel of Luke contains the most familiar account of the birth of Jesus. Is the one with the shepherds in the field at night, and angels coming to them. That's in Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 1 contains some things leading up to the birth of Jesus. It opens with the account of the parents of John the Baptist. That's Zacharias and Elizabeth. They are an elderly couple. They have not been able to have children. But God works so that Elizabeth can bear a child, and this will be John the Baptist. Now then the scene switches over to Mary, the mother of Jesus. We learn that she is a young woman engaged to a man named Joseph. The angel Gabriel appears to her and tells her that through the power of God she will bear a son to be called Jesus. Now the angel tells her about Elizabeth, how she will bear a son also, and we are told that Elizabeth and Mary are cousins. So then Mary then later goes to visit Elizabeth. When she gets there, she finds Elizabeth is indeed pregnant. And upon hearing Mary's voice, the baby in Elizabeth's womb jumps for joy. And Elizabeth says this to Mary: "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. But why is this granted to me, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For indeed, as soon as the voice of your greeting sounded in my ears, the baby in my womb leapt for joy. Blessed is she who believed, for there will be a fulfillment of those things which were told her from the Lord." After Elizabeth said that, Mary then said what we heard is our gospel reading. "My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit has rejoiced in God my Savior, for he has regarded the lowly state of his maidservant. For behold, henceforth all generations will call me blessed. For he who is mighty has done great things for me, and holy is his name. His mercy is on those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. He has put down the mighty from their thrones and exalted the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he has sent away empty." Now this, what Mary said, is popularly called the Magnificat, and that's just because the first word of that in Latin is Magnificat, and that just means to magnify, to make something big. In this context, it means that Mary is praising God. She is exalting God. So the first sentence there is a compound structure. It says, "My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit has rejoiced in God, my Savior." Those are sort of two different ways of saying the same thing. The soul is that which gives a body life. A body without a soul is a dead body. In the ancient world, the soul was thought to be the force that animated the body, that gave it life and made it alive. Spirit, on the other hand, in the ancient world, was thought to be that which is you. Your spirit is you as a unique individual. It is the non-physical part of you that makes you, you. It is your very life force. Your life is your spirit. Your spirit does not have to have a body to exist in order to live. Your spirit exists independently of your body and lives independently of your body. It's not exactly the same thing as to think of the body as a container that contains your spirit. It doesn't depend on your body in any way. It's just in there. The spirit is you. you as an individual. And so really what Mary is saying, that her entire being, the totality of her spiritual existence, her earthly existence, exalts and rejoices in God. And notice that she is rejoicing and exalting about God, my Savior. That term that's translated Savior in the New Testament is literally rescuer. In other words, what she's saying is that God has rescued me. According to the Bible, Jesus does not save us. Jesus is not our Savior. Jesus is our rescuer. A lot of people say it is Savior, but Savior is too mild a term. The Bible puts it more as He is our rescuer. He rescues us. Mary goes on to say, He has regarded the lowly state of His handmaiden. Now that term lowly state is one word in Greek. It's the word tapenoisin. And it literally refers to somebody on the bottom of the social ladder. A lot of people think it means humble. That's not what it means. It means a person that's very poor, and it is insignificant in the eyes of other people in the world. They're on the bottom both in terms of money and terms of social status. It's a poor person. Someone that's not important. Someone that doesn't matter. And here that's what Mary says she is. I'm a poor person in the eyes of the world. I do not matter. Then she goes on to call herself a maidservant. That's literally a slave. And so she is a slave of God, and she's so far down on the rungs of a ladder that other people would consider her insignificant, much as we consider so many people in our society to not matter today. Then she said, For behold, henceforth all generations will call me blessed. Even though today she's at the bottom, from now on all generations will call her blessed. And that word blessed literally means happy. Mary is such in a low position in society that it would be seen as a disgrace. She would be seen as insignificant. But from now on, all generations will call me happy. Why? Is that true? Well, she goes on to say, For he who is mighty has done great things for me, and holy is his name. And his mercy is on those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. Now in those sentences we see God is mighty and strong. God's arm in the Bible is often associated with God's power. It is a term often used in the Bible to indicate God doing something in the world. We also hear of God's mercy toward those who fear him. The word there for fear means to stand in awe of, to be reverent toward, to show respect and honor toward. Awe connotes a feeling of respect towards something powerful and majestic. And it indicates it's something that we feel over a period of time. It's not just something we have a fleeting feeling of. But we stand in awe toward God. We are reverent toward God. We show respect toward and honor God because God is powerful and majestic. And then it begins to get uncomfortable. Mary says he has scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. In the Bible, the word proud means people who think that they are above others. It literally means people that think that they stand above others. They think they are better and different than others. The proud. He has scattered the proud in the imagination Mary goes on to say, he has put down the mighty from their thrones and exalted the lowly. The word there for lowly is really not lowly. It is the tapanoison again. Those who are so low on the ladder that they don't matter, they're insignificant, they're not like us. God has put the mighty down from their thrones and exalted those who don't matter. He has kicked off the ones who think they're so great. Now there's a big disagreement in Christianity about how this should be interpreted. Some think this represents a big equaling, where the ones at the top are lowered down while the ones at the bottom are raised up, so everything is equal. And you can point to the crooked will be made straight, the rough places plain, every valley will be exalted. But others say this represents a reversal, that those on the top are thrown down to the bottom, while those on the bottom are brought up to the top. And that interpretation is what has, as of late, been favored in mainline Christianity. You also see it favored in our society today. We see that in operation, maybe, where for those who in years past felt that they were ignored, now want to be on top, and when they get on top, they want to lord it over those who they felt ignored them. Now it's our turn to be at the top and lord it over everyone else. And that tends to be the interpretation favored within mainline Christianity, is that they want people that they feel like were oppressed in the past to be raised to the top, and then they get even with people like us. But my opinion is that the proper interpretation is the first one. I think it represents a leveling, where those at the bottom are raised up, and those at the top, their power and their might are taken away, to where all are equal, where no one lords over anyone else. And I say that because I believe that interpretation is most consistent with the broad sweep of the Bible. Mary goes on to say, he has filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he has sent away empty. Here we have another disagreement in interpretation. We live in a materialistic society where happiness and success and the importance of people is based on how much money they have. It's not surprising then in a materialistic society that Christians would say that we need to interpret that spiritually and say that the people who are hungry are those who realize they're not spiritually full. The rich are those who think they already understand everything, and so God sends them away empty. But for those who realize they don't understand, God has a lot for them. You can imagine why in our society people would want to interpret it that way, because we equal the value of a human being based on how much money they have. Others, however, interpret hungry and rich in a literal sense, meaning rich and poor in a literal sense, and I think that's the interpretation that's correct there, especially when you go on into the Gospel of Luke and you see over and over again warnings given to the rich, and it is obviously the literal rich he's talking about. So it seems reasonable to think that the theme that is prevalent throughout those warnings to the rich would be reflected there also. It would be inconsistent with the rest of the Gospel of Luke. For the rest of the Gospel to mean the literal rich, and this right here just means what they call the spiritual rich and poor. It would also be inconsistent with the other teachings of Jesus. For in all the teachings of Jesus, Jesus never spoke positively about wealth and acquisitiveness. So if we do interpret it literally instead of allegorically, it really is ominous. researching this, I found out that the Magnificat, this is what many said, is the part of the Bible that has been set to music the most. And that sort of surprised me, because I would have thought it would have been maybe one of the Psalms, like Psalm 23, or some of the Psalms maybe, or something else. But this is the part of the Bible that has been set to music the most. For many centuries, composers have set these words to music, and that continues today. Many composers today still set these words to music. But there's a disturbing trend. It's not surprising, but it's disturbing to me. In what is known as contemporary Christian music, there is a trend today when you set the Magnificat to music to stop before you get to the part about the rich and the hungry. They just leave it out. They just stop before when they get there. Leave that part out. Contemporary Christian stuff has a limited appeal. Mostly appeals to people in their 30s and 40s. Not poor people in their 30s and 40s, but people who are better off. You just go to some of the stage performance churches in Cleveland County and you look and see who's there. It's well-off people in their 30s and 40s. They are the beautiful people, the good life people, the people working their hearts out for the good life. Yuppies, like we used to say. And you can't expect people like that to go into church swaying around with their arms in the air and all singing about how God's going to give the poor people everything and send the rich away. That ain't their theology. You know. So, but what do we do with that? You know, I guess we could console ourselves by saying that when the Bible talks about the rich, it's people like Bill Gates and Donald Trump, the billionaire class, the super rich at the very top. Unfortunately, the Bible does not define what it means by rich. It does not indicate if it just means the billionaires. We don't know who the Bible includes in rich. It may just be Bill Gates and Donald Trump and people like that. It may include doctors who live in $1 million houses. It may also include people like us. And I think that's what makes these passages so uncomfortable to us. Because we really don't know. You know, when we read this, we think, well, is that talking to me? I don't know. I know I spend a lot of time thinking about it. So let's back up and see what we have in the Magnificat. Jesus is born to a young woman at the bottom of the ladder. The one time in history when God becomes a human being, he chose to do it through a woman at the bottom of the ladder. Wouldn't it have made more sense if God had done it with the woman higher standing? But that's not what he did. He chose to come and be born of a woman at the lowest rung of the social ladder. And you know, for people on a higher rung of the ladder, being lumped in with a woman like that would sort of be an insult. Then we see the proud having their pride shattered. Then we saw the mighty brought down, and we saw those on the bottom rung raised up to where all are equal. We saw the hungry filled, and we saw the rich set away empty. The proud are shattered, the mighty are brought down, the rich are sent away empty. Those on the lowest are raised up, the hungry are filled. Over here we see the proud. The mighty are over here. The rich are over here. They're over here. The poor, the hungry, the destitute, those on the bottom rung of the ladder, those who don't really matter, are over here. When God came, he came over here, not over here. I think that's one of the most significant points of Christianity you can ever understand. Jesus came to earth not with lights flashing and trumpets blaring, marching around proud, I'm in control, folks, you know. He came to two people who didn't matter. He came silently. He came to two poor people. When God chose to come to this earth, he chose to come to two people on the bottom. I don't know what we do with that. I really don't. But that's the way it is. And I spend a lot of time in my life thinking about that. And that right there is one of the reasons why Wanda and I have chosen to live our lives the way we did and do the things we have done.